He signed the divorce papers mocking her, grinning like the devil himself, until the judge opened her father's will, and the whole courtroom froze. The courtroom air felt thick enough to choke. Every cough echoed like a hammer. Every shuffle of papers sounded heavier than stone. She sat at the plaintiff's table, back straight, palms pressed flat against her lap, nails digging into her own skin just to remind herself she was still here. Her name was Danielle. 32. African American. Once a rising star in her father's empire, but the last year had broken her in places no one could see. Nights at the hospital watching her father's lungs fail. Days in court, dragged here by the man who once swore to protect her. A man she had loved with her whole being, who now smirked like this divorce was his victory parade. Across the table sat Marcus. Tall, broad shoulders under an expensive navy suit, gold cufflinks flashing under the fluorescence, the kind of man who looked like a magazine cover but carried poison under his tongue. His laugh filled spaces it didn't belong. He twirled the black pen between his fingers before signing the final page of the divorce decree like he was autographing a fan's notebook. "Freedom at last," Marcus whispered, loud enough for her to hear. He leaned back, tilting his head toward the woman seated 3 rows behind him. His mistress. Long red nails tapped the edge of her phone, recording little bits she would later brag about on Instagram. Marcus puckered his lips, blew her a kiss, and then slammed the pen down with a flourish. A hush rolled over the courtroom. The judge, silver-haired, eyes heavy with years of secrets, cleared his throat. Papers rustled. He slid an envelope from a side file, its seal still intact, the wax pressed deep with a crest Danielle knew too well. Her father's crest. The lion and crown. Marcus chuckled. "What is this, another stall tactic?" he sneered. "Judge, I've signed. She's got nothing left. Let's end this circus." But the judge didn't smile. His hands, steady, held the envelope like it carried fire. He tapped it once, twice, against the wooden bench. "This," he said slowly, "is an addendum filed by the late Mr. Elijah Rivers. Your father, Mrs. Danielle. Marked for disclosure upon the legal dissolution of your marriage." Danielle's breath caught in her chest. She had seen her father's will months ago. Or at least she thought she had. This was something else. Something hidden. Something he saved for this exact moment. The room leaned forward as the judge cracked the wax seal. The sound was sharp, final, like a gun cocking. Marcus's grin faltered. Just slightly. Enough for Danielle to notice. Her father's voice seemed to echo in her head, the last words he spoke from that hospital bed: "When the time comes, fight, my daughter. Don't bow. Don't let him steal the life I built for you." Her fingers curled into fists. She wanted to scream. To cry. To beg her father to still be alive, to stand here, to shield her. But all she could do now was hold her ground. The judge unfolded the first page. His voice rang out, each word like thunder in the stillness. "To my beloved daughter Danielle, upon the event of her divorce, I hereby declare her the sole heir to the Rivers conglomerate, all properties, assets, and holdings, in entirety." Gasps. A ripple of whispers across the benches. Phones lifted. Recording started. Marcus sat forward, his smirk twitching. "What the hell is this?" he spat. "This wasn't in the will." The judge ignored him, eyes locked on the page. He turned to the next sheet. "Further, I present evidence of fraud and betrayal. Photographs, transfers, accounts, all linked to Marcus, who exploited his position while my daughter stood by me in my illness." Marcus's mistress shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Red nails stopped tapping. She tried to look down, but reporters already craned their necks, cameras snapping like vultures. Danielle sat frozen. It was all here. The late nights she suspected. The lies she ignored. The whispered phone calls when he thought she was asleep. Her father had seen it all, had prepared this moment like a soldier preparing a battlefield. And as the judge continued to read, her heart swelled not with sorrow, but with something sharper. Something colder. Vindication. The papers he signed with laughter became his chains before he even knew it. The judge's voice carried like a drumbeat, each word cutting Marcus down piece by piece. Marcus, while married to Danielle Rivers, established offshore accounts under shell corporations. These accounts received direct transfers from Rivers' conglomerate subsidiaries. Evidence includes signed authorizations and falsified invoices. Murmurs rose like a tide. The courtroom no longer felt like a civil hearing. It felt like a public execution. Danielle's throat tightened, her heart pounding against her ribs as if to break free. She forced herself to breathe slow, silent, steady, the way her father taught her before every boardroom meeting. "Control the room by controlling yourself," he used to say. Marcus slammed a fist against the table. "This is slander. I demand. Sit down, Mr. Marcus." The judge's gavel cracked, sharp as lightning. "You'll have your chance." The mistress shifted again, crossing her legs, but reporters caught the panic in her eyes. The courtroom artist, sketching furiously, angled his pencil toward her. Danielle. Silent. But inside, memories unfurl, Marcus shouting in their kitchen, accusing her of being cold, while he spent nights out, working. Her begging him to come home as her father lay dying. His voice telling her she was weak, she was nothing without him. The judge turned another page. A file thick with photographs slid into the record. Danielle's hands shook as images spilled across the bench. Marcus, arm in arm with his mistress, exiting hotels, signed car leases under the mistress's name, company checks endorsed with Marcus's signature, transferred to private accounts. The crowd gasped. "Shut that off." Marcus roared at a reporter's camera. His voice cracked. The smirk was gone, his polished calm disintegrating under the fluorescent lights. Danielle closed her eyes, hearing her father's laugh, a sound she hadn't let herself recall in months. He knew. He prepared this. He wanted her safe. Her lips pressed together until they hurt, holding back the flood of tears that threatened to undo her strength. The judge continued. Clause 7. Any spouse who humiliates or defrauds my daughter will be stripped of all marital claims and subject to criminal investigation. Silence. Then a single cough in the gallery. Marcus shot up from his chair. "This is insanity. That old man is dead, he can't dictate my life from the grave." Danielle flinched at the word dead. She still wasn't ready to let it sit as truth. But she straightened, locking her eyes on Marcus. For the first time, she saw fear there. Real fear. The kind he could not mask with swagger. The bailiffs took a step forward, not at the judge's command, but as if instinctively drawn by the shift in the air. Marcus sat back, chest heaving, jaw tight. Close up on the mistress. She pulls out her phone, typing fast. A message to someone, "This is bad. Real bad." She bites her lip, deletes, tries again. Too late, a reporter already has the phone lens angled toward her. Danielle's heartbeat slowed. For months she had felt powerless, a ghost in her own life. But as the evidence piled, something inside her stitched itself back together. piece by piece. Her mind flickered back, night sitting by her father's bed, him gripping her hand. Danielle, strength is quiet until the storm needs it. Then it roars. Tears slipped down, not from sorrow, but release. She didn't wipe them away. She let the courtroom see. Marcus leaned toward his attorney, whispering furiously. The lawyer's pale face said everything. There was no way out. Not today. Not with cameras, witnesses, and the judge's booming voice reading line after line. The judge lowered the file, pausing long enough for tension to thicken until no one dared move. Then he read the final piece: all assets of Marcus are hereby frozen pending review. The trust will transfer sole control to Danielle Rivers, effective immediately. The word struck like a gavel before the gavel. Marcus's face drained pale, then red, then pale again. Danielle inhaled. Deep. Full. For the first time in months, the air didn't hurt. The judge wasn't finished. His hand lingered on the next page, and that page. The judge's voice slowed, like he knew the next page carried dynamite. He slid a pair of reading glasses further up his nose, cleared his throat, and tapped the paper once, twice, against the bench. The silence in the courtroom was complete. Furthermore, he read, I direct that upon my passing, and in the event of Danielle's divorce, certain betrayals within her circle must be revealed. Danielle blinked. What? Betrayals within her circle? Her chest tightened. She turned her head slightly, scanning the benches behind her. Friends, former colleagues, distant family members. Faces blurred. Whispers spread like wildfire. Marcus smirked again, seizing the chance to recover. See? Even her father knew she can't trust anyone. His voice dripped venom. What kind of woman can't even keep her friends loyal? The judge slammed his gavel once. Bang. The echo silenced him. Enclosed, the judge continued, are the names of those who sold her out. Some for money. Some for pride. One for ambition that outgrew loyalty. Papers rustled. Danielle's stomach dropped, heat rushing up her throat. The judge lifted a separate folded sheet, tore the seal, and began to read. First, Gerald Vance, Chief Financial Officer of Rivers Conglomerate. Accepted bribes from Marcus to leak board decisions and siphon funds through dummy vendors. The name slammed into Danielle's mind like a fist. Gerald? Her father's right-hand man. The man who gave her a handkerchief when she cried in the boardroom after her father's diagnosis. Her breath caught, eyes burning. The gallery erupted. Voices overlapping. Gerald? No. Is that true? Reporters scribbled furiously. The judge raised his voice. Second. Valerie Price, Danielle's college friend and legal advisor. Passed confidential case files to Marcus during this very divorce. Danielle gasped out loud. Her head whipped around. Valerie sat 3 rows behind her, frozen in place, lips parted, eyes wide as if caught in a sudden spotlight. Her hands gripped her purse so tightly the leather groaned. Valerie, Danielle whispered, disbelief flooding her veins. This was the friend who stayed at her apartment during sleepless nights, who swore she believed in her innocence. Betrayal twisted like a knife in her gut. She sat taller. The pain scorched her chest, but her father's words echoed again, don't bow. Don't break. The judge wasn't finished. And finally. He paused, scanning the page with heavy eyes. Chittera Monroe. Executive Vice President. Danielle's closest ally on the board. Secretly colluded with Marcus to orchestrate a hostile takeover after Elijah Rivers' death. Evidence enclosed. Danielle's breath punched out of her lungs. Chitara. Her best friend at the company. The one she called sister. The one who swore loyalty, who wept with her after her father's funeral. No, Danielle muttered, shaking her head slowly. The walls seemed to tilt. The betrayal was too much. Too sharp. Too deep. The gallery gasped, then fell into whispers again. Judge's voice cut through the fog like a blade. All proof has been filed with the state. This court accepts the documents into record. The world blurred. Danielle could barely hear over the pounding in her ears. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Her chest felt like stone, pressing her into the seat. She wanted to scream, to claw at the air, to demand answers from faces she once trusted. But then, her father's handwriting. That strong, looping script she knew from childhood, staring at her from the margin of the will. A note scrawled in pen, as if he wrote it in his final days. The judge read it aloud. "My daughter, if you are hearing this, know that betrayal will not kill you. It will forge you. Do not waste tears on snakes. Stand. Rise. They cannot touch what I have prepared for you next." The words poured into her like fire. Tears streamed freely now, but they weren't weakness. They were steel cooling. Marcus leaned back in his chair, arms spread, sneering. "You see, Danielle. Even your father thought you couldn't stand alone." The judge shot him a glare that could burn stone. "Sit down, Mr. Marcus." But Danielle didn't need the judge. She turned her gaze on Marcus herself. And for the first time, her voice rose. Steady. Sharp. "You will choke on your own arrogance, Marcus. My father saw you coming before you even set foot in our home. And he left you nothing but ashes." The gallery exploded in murmurs, some gasping at her sudden strength. Marcus's smirk falters, just for a breath. The judge cleared his throat again, turning to the final sealed section of the will. This one bore a different seal, red wax, stamped with the family crest, but also the faint signature of Elijah Rivers' attorney. The air grew thick again. Finally, the judge read, "I hereby transfer to my daughter the deed to Parcel 19, Madison County. A property long dismissed as worthless swamp land. However, recent surveys confirm significant oil reserves beneath the ground, estimated at billions in future value. This property is excluded from any marital claims and remains solely in Danielle Rivers' trust." The courtroom gasped as one. Even Marcus froze. His eyes widened, his body leaning forward like he'd misheard. "Oil?" one reporter whispered, his pen racing across paper. "Billions," another echoed. Marcus shot up from his chair, face wild. "No. That's impossible. I checked that land, worthless. He cut himself off, realizing too late what he revealed. The gallery buzzed louder. He had looked into it. He had planned to steal it. The mistress lowered her head, shame washing over her face. She wasn't ready for this storm. The judge's voice thundered. "The court acknowledges the transfer. Danielle Rivers stands as sole heir and owner. Effective immediately." Danielle's breath came slow, steady. Betrayed. Burned. Scarred. But standing. Her father's voice still echoing, "Choose peace over chains. Walk out. Do not look back." He mocked her when he signed. But with every line of the will, the laughter turned to silence. And the silence turned to chains. Now the world knew the truth. And the storm had only begun. Close up on Danielle. She rises slowly, every movement heavy with authority. Behind her, Marcus collapses into his seat, the weight of the will crushing the swagger out of him. The judge stacked the final documents, his expression carved from stone. This court acknowledges the transfer of assets, the betrayal evidence, and the enforcement of Clause 7. Mr. Marcus, your marital claims are void. Bailiffs will escort you to state custody for questioning regarding fraud and corporate theft. Marcus lurched forward, panic tearing through his bravado. Custody? No, no, you can't do this to me. That old man set me up. His voice cracked, wild. Danielle, tell them. We can fix this, we can. Danielle's eyes cut to him, steady as iron. There is nothing left to fix. The bailiffs moved in. Marcus thrashed, suit wrinkling, cufflinks clattering onto the floor as one hand slipped from his wrist. Upon her face, wet with tears, but lips pressed in quiet strength. The storm is over, and she is still standing. Valerie, her so-called friend, tried to slip out quietly. But the judge's voice cut across the room. Ms. Price, this court advises you remain. Charges for breach of fiduciary duty may follow. Gasps rippled again. Valerie froze mid-step, face crumbling, caught like prey in headlights. Gerald Vance, the CFO, stood stiff, his jaw trembling, hands twitching at his sides. He didn't move, didn't speak, but guilt hung over him like a shadow too heavy to lift. Danielle turned to look at them both. Her heart squeezed. She wanted to scream at them, ask why. But instead, she inhaled deep, then let the breath out. Her father's words came back, don't waste tears on snakes. She said nothing. Silence was sharper than any blade. The bailiffs cuffed Marcus at last. He struggled still, but weaker now. The fight had drained from him. He turned his face toward Danielle, desperation breaking through his arrogance. You loved me once, he rasped, voice almost pleading. Don't let them. She cut him off. The man I loved is dead. You killed him with every lie. The courtroom stilled again. Her words echoed, bouncing off walls, searing into every ear present. The bailiffs dragged Marcus away. His mistress stood halfway, wringing her hands, then sank back down. Cameras followed him out, flashes stinging. His empire was gone. His name stained. His freedom fading with each step. He walked in smirking, certain of victory. He left in chains, with the world watching. The woman he mocked became the queen he could never cage. Danielle stood alone in the well of the courtroom. Betrayed by friends, stripped bare by loss, but rebuilt by the very hand of her father's will. The judge leaned forward, voice softer now. Mrs. Rivers, your father prepared this for you. Today the court only honored his words. What you do with this power, that choice is yours. She swallowed hard. Nodded. Her body trembled, but not from fear. From the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. The whispers of the gallery swelled. Some called her lucky. Some called her strong. Some called her cursed, bound to carry not just fortune, but betrayal and memory. She turned. Walked to the double doors. Each step echoed like a drumbeat. Outside those doors waited a storm of cameras, reporters, board members, and vultures ready to crown or devour her. But she would face them. Because she was no longer the woman mocked at a divorce table. She was Elijah Rivers' daughter. And his voice still walked beside her. Danielle pushing the courtroom doors open. The heavy wooden doors swung open and Danielle stepped out into the blaze of flashbulbs. Reporters surged forward, microphones stretched like spears. Danielle. Do you have a statement? Is it true the oil land is worth billions? What will happen to Marcus? Questions collided into chaos, but Danielle didn't stop. Her heels clicked against stone, steady, commanding. Every step said more than any press release could. Her face, streaks of tears dried against her skin, but her eyes fierce, unflinching. She had been mocked. Betrayed. Left to bleed alone. But the truth, written in her father's hand, raised her higher than any crown could. At the bottom of the steps, she paused. The crowd leaned in. Her voice, soft but strong, cut through the frenzy. My father taught me that chains come in many forms. Some are metal. Some are lies. Some are the hands of those who pretend to love you. Today, I chose peace. And I will not look back. Silence swept the steps. Then, like a wave breaking, reporters shouted, cameras flashed brighter. But Danielle turned away, slipping into the waiting car. The door shut. The world outside muffled. Inside, she exhaled. Closed her eyes. The last words of her father echoed like a prayer in her mind. Choose peace over chains. Marcus's voice, the jeers, the arrogance, the mockery, was gone now. All that remained was the sound of her own breath, steady, alive. Danielle's face through the car window as it pulls away. The city lights blur behind her. The storm is over, but the story has only begun. He signed the papers mocking her. But when the will was read, the courtroom learned a truth no lie could silence, that a father's love writes louder than betrayal, and a woman mocked can rise into power untouchable. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments box. What would you have done in Danielle's place? Tell us in the comments box, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful true life stories.